Alrighty, guys. Sorry for the delay. We are officially in here, though, I think. Let's double check and make sure on that. I like to always open it up on YouTube to make sure we're running through the. Oh, yeah, we're in here, AJ. It's me having the tech issues tonight. It's me. It's usually not the issue, to be honest, AJ. We've been working together for a long time. It's usually not me that's having the tech issues. So, it happens to the best of us, I guess.
Oh my gosh. I'm just already reading stuff on there. I'm always the tech guy that has a problem. Everybody knows that's a joke, but it's actually a true, most good humor is stemmed based in truth.
Was just about to say that.
So it was actually, I felt bad for you because now you kind of know it's like to live on my side of the aisle for about 8 minutes. So
yeah, it happens to
enjoy it while it's there. Now you can crawl back to the good side instead of being over here.
Man. It's tough. My computer was about to
chaos. I'm on the chaos side.
I now someone in the comments, AJ said it's all AJ's fault. LOL. So 100%. Still getting on you. Boom. Still getting on you.
I now know what it's like to be in the Secret Service. Well, they have to investigate every threat to the president. Now I have to investigate every freaking drop on this search stuff right now. And today was a crazy day.
Is that how it's feeling a little bit? It's just been chasing down different leads because you're hearing so many different things kind of behind the scenes.
It's not bad when you hear a lot of the same stuff. And we were hearing a lot of consistent stuff there for a while. Today was just like information caroming off the walls like a pinball. Mm-hmm. Like with those old pinball machines, and I don't even know if I haven't played pinball in ages, right? But it would just start going back and forth, and you'd have to do anything.
Yeah,
you just sat there back and forth. I could, God, come on, do something here. And it's just registering 1,000 points a pop or whatever. That's kind of what today was a little bit. It's hearing conflicting stuff about the same people, about the same conversations, about the same perspectives. It's pretty wild stuff. And because of that, you really have to sift hard, and you must. The key here is actually getting stuff vetted, getting stuff confirmed. I'm trying today, and it's some. Never thought I'd send some of the things I've sent to try to get confirmed, but here we are. We have reached Crazyville on this stuff.
Yeah,
it's kind of figured. The Sweet 16 and Elite 8 came and sort of saved us some.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody, I don't know. Man.
A little bit of a distraction.
I don't have a bottle in front of me. So
what kind of updates?
I do have this in front of me.
Yeah, you got to have something. I got a little water bottle over here too, especially doing all this talking. You've been posting, but for people who are on our boards, they would know. StarHeels247.com. 75% off promo still going on right now, right? Does it end? Is it tonight?
No, we're keeping it going.
Beautiful.
They were going to end it tonight, but it's doing so well. The search continues. They want to give everybody who has not pulled the trigger and joined to go ahead and do so. 75% off. You get everything. You get it for a year. You get all kinds of stuff. So they decided today to keep it going.
Yeah, well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that.
I saw that text.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm glad you did.
Literally, I mean, good God. Well, there's two. It was one of my neighbors. I missed his. He's trying to get information from me too.
Everybody's trying to just scratch their way.
It's funny. He walked by. My office is at the front of the house. Mm-hmm. He'll walk by, and he walks fast. Mm-hmm. And he'll walk by, and I see him kind of looking back to the window, seeing if he could see me looking out, thinking I might come out and say something to him. Every day. And he'll walk by like 5 times.
Hey, man, everybody's looking for information.
He's like 57 years old, and he's dying for information.
Hey, you know what he should do, AJ? Maybe he already is. Just sign up to TarHeels247.com. 75% off promo going on right now.
But he's my neighbor, and he'll catch me when I'm getting my steps, and he'll pepper me with questions, and we talk baseball and stuff. And he wants stuff that's not on the site. He wants the really good stuff.
Yeah, that real
stuff that we're not allowed to tell.
Yeah, that real juicy stuff right there.
He's like a neighborhood cat. Like I gave him a saucer of milk one time, and he keeps coming back.
Yeah, it knows where the food's at, so it just keeps coming back to the water and all. I mean, I don't blame him. I'd be doing the same thing if I was in his shoes, to be completely honest with you, because it's something. It's a national story. It's something people want to know information about. And the reason I brought up the website to begin with, other than to blast the promo, was to say, I mean, if you've been on our boards, you've seen the updates that you've been putting out pretty much every night since Hubert Davis was fired last week. And again, I know there's not massive updates we can give in this one because of how the search is playing out right now, but the people want to know, AJ, is there any kind of update or any information maybe you've learned today over the last couple of days since we've done one of these live streams that you can divulge on here? But again, I know it's been a pretty interesting last couple of days for you.
All right, I decided to pop this one up here too because John is on our staff. John works for us. He's on my staff here at Tar Heel 24/7. I know the podcast he did. I knew about it going into it. I have no reason to doubt what he and Justin said. They're both good friends. They've been around a long time. They know stuff. That all said, I think there's a lot of people that are interested in the jobs. And when it came open, there was initially we thought it was a national search outside the family, and it really wasn't. So I think a lot of people were interested. But he did get the Arizona job. There are some parallels about him taking over there. And if he were to come to North Carolina right now, I've kind of connected some of those dots that if it does happen, that'll be a piece that we run. But I just wanted to get that question up there just so people know that John works for us. So I'm not going to dispute anything he said about that. There's no need to. And it's really not super relevant today because now he's 5 years entrenched in Tucson. So things are different now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, things are a lot different. That's for
so
sure.
You asked for some new stuff. The new stuff is, I mean, well, it's a continuation of some of the updates from last week. We said initially two things. One, they would like to have had someone by the middle of this week because of the portal and everything else, but it wasn't a driving force behind anything that they were doing. We have maintained from day one, the objective is to get the right person. So if that means that you don't hire someone until the portal's been open for 4 or 5 days, then so be it. That's when you hire somebody. The objective and the most important thing is getting the right coach for the long term, not a coach you can get in now so he can get some kind of a roster together right away. The roster will take care of itself. So the objective, get the right guy. And I think that they're doing due diligence. The people that are in charge of this know what they're doing. They're smart people. They're working really well together as a unit. And they've got some important people that are voices in the process. And I think they're eventually going to make a really good hire. I can't sit here today and say 100% who I know the hire is going to be. I have my beliefs. I've kind of reading this thing as it's going, but I also have learned through many years of doing this that it may look on the eve of someday that this guy is going to take it all. Fingers are pointing to him. Everything essentially has been agreed to in principle, and then something happens. So coaching searches that are not super obvious, like this one, tend sometimes to take crazy bounces, sort of like that pinball earlier. They take crazy bounces and things can be unforeseen. Sometimes there's demand that comes up. I do think, and we'll get into the arena stuff, I think the arena decision is in part to pull that away from the process, to not cloud the process so much with, man, I'm going to take over that program, be the first guy outside the family, going to have to, coach that brand, that platform, and that massive shark-infested fishbowl, so to speak. Oh, and I've got to be a part of a new arena for a program I haven't previously been with, and I can't be in the debate about the history and everything else. So I think that's a lot to do with why they pushed this back, and I have no idea how long they pushed it back for. I think it's probably shelved for a while. And when they pick it back up, they'll have all the information they need. They'll just have to change some of the dollar figures because everything will be more expensive at that point.
Oh, no doubt about it. Yeah, a couple of questions I want to ask you. First and foremost, I put this in the title too, but we've since kind of day one reported on 3 names in particular that we've kind of been here. And I think you've kind of labeled them in a way as like kind of tier A, and then there's other guys that are maybe like tier B, and that's kind of
A-list, B-list. We've done A-list, B-list.
That's how we've gone about kind of putting it on the website. Do you think the searches narrowed at all? It never felt like it was a massively wide net to begin with in some ways, but curious if yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because I get a kick, and we have some fun with some text messages about how, hey, such and such is no longer a candidate. Such and such never was a candidate.
Yeah, I love that. That's the best.
Like, I'm no longer a candidate for the job, so I'll text Bubba and say, Bubba, I'm pulling my name from consideration.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man.
Yeah. I was just as much a candidate for the job as Nate Oates was. Okay.
Yeah, we've heard that since
Nate Oates and Todd Golden were never candidates for this job.
Mm-hmm.
It's a small pool of people, and they have their own A list, B list, tiers, however you want to call it. Phase 1, phase 2, however you want to call it. They've had some people that they have looked at. But I do think that when you're North Carolina, you can be a little choosy. You can shoot for the highest, for the best. And I am convinced that they're going to get a really good coach. So it may not be for another week. The national championship game is a week from tonight.
Yeah.
So it may not be for another 9 days.
Mm-hmm.
No one's going to win a national title and the next day be introduced as a new coach somewhere. Probably takes a few days, right? If that were to happen.
100%.
So they're going to get a good coach. They didn't have a massive net, like you said, that they cast. And they didn't have to. And I think that's one of the cool things about this. And that's what's so fascinating about when this is all said and done with. I'm going to go over and look at the rubble of information that we have heard. And I'm going to just kind of sweep them, partition it to like, here's the Donovan stuff, the May stuff, the Lloyd stuff, and all the others, and be fascinated at how much gobbledygook was sent our way. Because you have to wade through all that stuff because there's a lot of junk, man.
Yeah.
There's a lot of junk.
That's a good way to describe it too. Yeah.
And it's entertaining junk too, to be honest with you. But the thing about today is, I'll say this about today, and I'm still parsing through it. For those who are watching, who are subscribers on our site or are VIP members of our site, there's a reason that the hot board gets posted at 3:00 in the morning or at 2:30 in the morning, and the update gets posted at 3:00 in the morning, because I wait till the end of the day to make sure all communication has been completed and kind of parse through it. I do give my wife a little bit of time watching crap in the other room to mush the mind. And I come back and I work for a while and put that stuff up, because I want people when they wake up in the morning to see all the fresh stuff. Right. Mm-hmm. And also, I don't want to put up an update at 7 p.m. and then the update changes at 9, but I have to wait till the next day. I don't want to do multiple updates in a day, like big presentation updates. So I wait and do it overnight. So there's still, what is it right now? 8:30?
Yeah, 8:30. Yep.
Tonight's young, kids.
Yes.
It's going to be
You're not lying.
Now, I have a shell of my update. In fact, I may not even put up a hot board tonight for the first time since Hubert was fired. I may just do an update. Like the hot board is the A-list stuff, right? And there's some intel in there, a little bit of information. It's the update that has all the goodies in there. And it kind of gives me an opportunity to sort of opine what certain things mean on occasion. So I'm going to have to do that with some things. And then it's difficult with some others because of some of the stuff that we heard today, which is just wild if true. Mm-hmm. But if true are the buzzwords.
That's the key word with a lot of this stuff. Real quickly, I just want to comment on a couple things, guys. I've seen a few people in the comments saying stuff about like this podcast was never labeled as like massive new North Carolina head coaching update or anything like that. So I don't know if you came in this live stream, thought we were just going to tell you who the head coach is going to be, and they're going to be announced like tomorrow or something, then that's not what you're going to find in here. So there's just a couple comments like that. So I just wanted to just make that was pretty clear based on the title. But
well, I've had my glasses on all day, other than getting my steps. Yeah, all day working, so I can't see.
And again, it's just been a couple. Glasses. I just wanted to address that real quick.
Well, no, there's some stuff.
I don't want people to get misinterpret what we're trying to deliver in here, because there's no clickbait in the title either about anything close to that.
We also wanted to come on here and just sort of talk about where things are right now, and then take some questions as well. Today this is going to be more of a heavy question live stream. I still have to parse some of the stuff that I heard today to make sure. I have to vet it to make sure it's real. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to come on here and say something that's not fully vetted. I will say this. Someone's talking about Nate McMillan in there. State should have hired him. A very good friend of mine used to cover Nate McMillan when he was the head coach of the Blazers.
Oh, interesting. I think another
connect those dots. Connect those dots if you remember a podcast from a couple of weeks ago.
I think I know who you're referring to.
You think you know exactly who I'm referring to?
I do. Well, you were about to say something though.
Yeah. Okay. So the Jordan stuff, we were the first ones to have the Jordan stuff out there about attempts to get him involved. And so those attempts, there's every reason to believe that he has been involved to some degree. Not yet prepared to confirm 1,000% on that one, because I just want to make sure it's accurate, and I don't want to put that on him and people say, "Hey, Michael's done this," when I don't know 1,000% sure if Michael has done that. But I think that the people at North Carolina that have an interest in seeing this program be extremely healthy with the hire are going to have something to do with it. They're going to have something to say. I know that, for example, Roy Williams. Roy's just not going to sit back and say, "Yeah, they hire whoever they hire." They can hire. Like that, yeah. They can hire Kevin Keats, whatever. I care more in this pinky than Kevin Keats does, and he's second. That's not going to happen. So,
how does this? I'm curious because you've covered a lot of different coaching searches, and not only at Carolina before, not necessarily in basketball, but you have covered what I don't know if I call it a coaching search with Hebert, but we'll call it that just for the sake of discussion. How does this compare to other coaching searches you've covered? I know you're still in this one, so it's a little bit maybe more difficult to answer. But is there any comparisons, or is it different just because of what the job is and the position that it is, and also the fact that Carolina is, for the first time in a very long time, as we've talked about before, in this situation where they're finally kind of legitimately looking outside the family instead of maybe just talking about looking outside the family before?
All coaching searches are different. They're like fingerprints because every job that opens is at a different point in history, different point in time. So I think this one, the appetite to go outside the family is 1,000% there. We've talked about that. So it wasn't there 5 years ago. That made it a little bit more difficult. And there were people who you would talk to try to get some information that were throwing you off the scent. So 5 years ago was hard for the first several days, 4 or 5 days, because I believe, Rich, looking back, there were some people that were trying to throw me off the scent. They were throwing others off the scent. So we ended up running stuff that week that had very little connection to reality. But you have to run lists, who might be it. There's confirmed stuff, and then there's who might be it stuff. And if you're doing your work properly, you'll note these are confirmed, these are not confirmed. Just like when we had our original candidates list, we said some of these are confirmed, some of these are part of the national narrative. So we ran them all together, and that was that. This one's a little different. I think the targets are pretty obvious. We had people from one of the candidates reaching out to us within an hour after the Hebert news came out. I did CBS that night. I did 24/7. The Henson one, I did that solo because John was out to dinner. Yeah, I did ours. And I think I did another radio spot that night. And as I was doing that stuff, I had people reaching out from one of the coaches' camps. So that's sometimes very aggressive. I know that we've reported a little bit about how they have been aggressive to find out, where that coach fits. Someone like a Billy Donovan. How does he fit in the process? How interested is North Carolina, or what is the appetite for North Carolina bringing someone who hasn't been in college since 2014, I think it was?
Yeah, his first year in the NBA was 2015, yeah.
Yeah, so 2014, 13, he's in the Final Four. 14, they had a tough year, and he's off to the Oklahoma City Thunder. And then he went from there to the Bulls. So what is the appetite to bring in someone who's actually been out of college? It doesn't seem like a long time, but it has, because college basketball sort of renovated itself like 3 times since Billy Donovan left college.
Changed so much.
So they want feelers. So they wanted feelers. He's very interested in the job. We were told 5 years ago when Roy retired from someone from Donovan's camp, that's the only job he would go back to college for. Yeah. So the job opens up again, and there he is saying, okay, I'm 60. If I'm ever going back to college, now's the time to do it. And that's the job I want. It's sort of Carolina is a little bit of a plug and play operation because it's so big and it's got the resources, and you're going to get kids that want to play. When people say the blue bloods are dead and don't matter anymore, that's BS. Kids still want to play for North Carolina. They had talent this year. Yeah, they'll have talent next year. But so that's like the situation there. With other coaches that are actually coaching, it's a little more difficult. People are a lot more hesitant to provide any real information. You just kind of know that there's interest and that there's, second party, third party conversations. Like Bubba Cunningham cannot talk to Dusty May or Tommy Lloyd right now because their seasons are still going on. But Turnkey, the search firm, they have people that can, but they're not going to talk directly to them. It's going to be all agent talk, representative talk, that kind of thing. And that's often how this stuff has worked out. I mean, it's you see when coaches leave a job and then they have a new job right away somewhere else. Look at Will Wade. I mean, that wasn't exactly shocking when that came about, but now we find out that his people were talking to LSU for like 6 weeks.
Yeah, he's looking at blinds like 6 weeks ago, AJ, or something like that. That's what I've heard.
Yeah,
can't confirm or deny, but I've heard.
Fortunately, there aren't that many Will Wades out there. I think we're better off with fewer Will Wades and more Will Wades. And I think NC State fan will finally agree with us on that one now.
Yeah, I think State fans are firmly on the other side of the Will Wade line now. It didn't take much.
Yeah, now we know it. Now we know what y'all were talking about a year ago.
Yeah, we're like, oh, we get it now. We get it now. Yeah, that just did not work.
Dirtball's gonna dirtball, man.
Yeah, 1,000%. That was a very interesting situation. I wanted to pull up a couple questions. We're going to move on to the arena talk in a second as well. We'll answer some questions a little bit later on. I'll put in the comments. Somebody asked we're going to take questions. Not quite yet because we have a couple of topics we want to hit on, but there was one in here that I wanted to.
Yeah, and if you asked one that you want to ask again and it's already scrolled by, just come back with it a little bit later, and we'll definitely hit on some questions.
1,000%. We will definitely come back.
You can also ask some stuff, by the way, in the comments, like afterward when this is posted, because I go through and read stuff and I try to answer some questions there too.
Yeah, I'll go in there every once in a while too and respond to people as well. And one question I saw somebody ask, and I want to bring this up. It's not really a question, but I think it's a discussion we can hit on real quick because I was listening to another show earlier today. I can't remember what it was. It might have been Field of 68 or something like that. And they were having a similar conversation to this, but someone in the comments said, if Tommy Lloyd wins a national championship, he's not leaving. And see, I actually look at it the opposite way. I think if you're in a situation like Tommy Lloyd, I completely understand why you want to stay at Arizona with, prioritizing basketball over there. It's a basketball school. He's built a really good program. He's a West Coast guy. I get it. But I also think it's the opposite. I think it's kind of like leaving on a high note. I think if you'd want to leave a program, especially like that, you want to leave it in a great spot. It's almost like, look, I don't want to say taken this as far as I have, but I've gotten you guys to the pinnacle. I can understand on one hand why a coach would want to stay with that, but I kind of lean the other way where I almost think that gives you a little bit more of the word excuse is not right, but it almost feels a little bit easier to kind of step away being like, I've won a national championship here in 5 years. Like I have a great opportunity here. I'm gonna go off and take this job. I think that's a better place to leave than losing in the Final Four this weekend. You know what I mean? I'm curious to see where you kind of fall in that line of things.
Yeah, I think it's all the person who they're around. You can look at it and say, if he wins a title, there's no unfinished business.
Yeah.
He delivered, time to move on. And they say, thank you so much. So luck at your next stop. Or they lose in the Final Four and leave, and there's always that unfinished business, and there's maybe some bitterness on the other end. It really just depends on the person. Now, Larry Brown won a title at Kansas in '88 and left. Of course, he went to the NBA, and the NCAA was sniffing on his heels, which happened wherever he went. It happened at UCLA. It happened in Kansas in the same decade, by the way. Took UCLA to a title game and had some issues as well. But we're in a new time. And we're in a time in sports where you really can't say never. You can't say no, it won't happen, because weird stuff is happening nowadays that we never would have thought before. And really, if you're let's say you're Tommy Lloyd or Dusty May, you win the national title, you have an opportunity, the only opportunity maybe in your life, to coach a blue blood. You have an opportunity to be someone who is a part of history at North Carolina with them going outside the family, and to think about what you can accomplish when the money is behind the program and everything is headed the way it should head, the way it should be done, which is going to happen. They're going to pay for the program. The money will be there. Man, that's tough to turn down. It's really hard when the cool kids invite you to their lunch table and make a spot for you. It's kind of hard to say no.
Oh yeah, you're not lying, man.
So the cool kids are saying, we got a spot for you. Come hang out. And there's Roy, and there's MJ, and there's this guy, and there's that guy. And this is Carolina Blue, and this is Jordan Brand, and this is Dean Smith, and this is banners in the rafters, jerseys in the rafters. This is iconic as it gets. This is the most recognizable. When you turn on TV and see Carolina's playing, they're playing. You don't have to look,
Yeah.
It's not the case most places. So that's a very, very – Carolina doesn't have to, for initial interest, doesn't have to pitch a whole lot. That's going to be there. It's going to be qualified. But Carolina has to then sell itself on we're not just riding on our laurels. We have to roll up the sleeves and be as aggressive as ever moving forward. That's what UNC needs to say. And I believe part of the arena decision is just that. It's like Dusty May, Billy Donovan, Tommy Lloyd. Let's just speak on those three right now. You're not going to be burdened with this arena debate that has divided the fan base up. Mm-hmm. We don't want a divided fan. We don't want you to come in with a divided fan base. We don't want you to come in and be asked questions. What are you thinking about an arena that you may have never been in before? Like, I don't know. Billy Donovan's ever been in their arena before.
Yeah.
I know that Tommy Lloyd has because he was on the Gonzaga staff that played in there a few years ago. And Roy gave the staff a tour, by the way, the day before the game. The staff,
I was at that game. Yeah, that was a good game.
And the Gonzaga athletic department, a bunch of them were there, and Roy gave them a personal tour of the whole facility.
What was that, 2019? 2018?
That was December 2018.
2018, yeah. I remember that game.
The Seventh Woods game, remember?
Yeah, the Seventh Woods game, yeah.
Seventh needs to have that thing on loop on his TV at home.
100%.
That was his game.
That was a fun team to watch.
So,
I remember that one now.
But you still have to sell it, especially in this area. You can't – there's some schools that can't just say, hey, this is who we are. You've got to be aggressive moving forward. You got to drive to the hoop. And Carolina has to drive to the hoop as a program. They are prepared to do that. I think one of the reasons that they haven't hired somebody yet, like some schools would panic and say, we got to get somebody, is because they are driving to the hoop. And they're not looking to lay it up high off the glass. They're looking to ram the thing home, grab onto the rim, kick up the legs, and scream some.
I put the question here. Just we've heard people ask it before. We've talked about it before. Are there any family hires in play? I mean, it seems like that's never really been a thing under consideration. I just don't. Again, I've said it before. I just don't know how you got. There really is nobody. If you want to make a splash hire, there is literally nobody out there you can go and get.
Here's the thing about North Carolina and this family stuff. They managed to find a way to make Bill Belichick seem like a part of the family from time way gone by.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
So if you can do that with him,
by the way. Yeah.
The Tommy Lloyd stuff's easy because Roy's great friends with Mark Few. Tommy Lloyd hired Steve Robinson. Remember, Tommy Lloyd was hired at the same time Hubert was. Mm-hmm. So Roy retires. Hubert didn't retain Steve Robinson, so Tommy Lloyd hires him, and Steve helps Tommy Lloyd initially with his first head coaching job. He retired after last season. There's a connection right there, a lot of trust. The relationship was already there. They already knew each other because the staffs had spent time together before, the Gonzaga staff and the North Carolina staff. And then you have a little bit of the Caleb stuff, a little bit of the Henry stuff, but there's something there. So they would sell that. I guess with Dusty May, you're going to have to really work hard, try to find something with Billy Donovan. Billy beat Carolina in the Final Four in 2000.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're gonna have to. They'll find out something. They'll find like that Billy Donovan as a little kid had like had a Mitch Kupchak shirt. Yeah, and there'll be some photo. There'll be some family photo of the kids out in the backyard playing, and Billy will have a Mitch Kupchak shirt, and they'll put that thing out there and act like Billy Donovan's always been a part of the family.
You know what he should do?
They love that. They love that stuff.
Yeah, you know what they should do? If Billy Donovan's the ultimate hire, I'm taking 100% credit for this. Just use the same line Bill Belichick said. Billy's first words were "beat Duke." Just come out and say that. I think that one is an automatic tap in because it's going to get laughs out of people. People are obviously going to know it's not true, but the people then in the room that are in on the joke with the Bill Belichick line are going to absolutely love it. So that's a tap in for me. If that happens, I need full credit for that. I need money for that.
Yeah. The Keenan Football Center may not take too kindly to that. I don't think they have the sense of humor that you would like for them to have right now.
No, I think it's a perfect line right there, man. Just kind of have a little fun with it. You know what I mean? But hey, what do I know? I'm looking at the.
Or they could say beat state, pause again.
yeah, beat state. That's it. That's a good one.
Historically speaking.
100%. We'll come back to the coaching stuff in here a little bit. Get your questions. I want to throw this comment up in here because I've almost lost it about 5 times and finally figured out how to start. Because this is one of the best comments I've seen tonight. How much money is in the renovation new arena budget for a dedicated space to record 3 things? Got to be a top line item. And AJ, yeah, that ain't the truest thing I've seen in a long time. That's one of the truest things I've ever seen. That's fantastic stuff right there from Matt for UNC. I'd love to know. Discussions. We'll revisit this later. The discussions have not happened yet. We'll just put it that way.
I will tell you this. Let you know a little secret. When you're trying to get information for something like this, information is currency. So when I talk to people, sometimes they ask the first question, what are you hearing? So here's what I'm hearing. And then you can use that to get a little bit of information. So I might have to start greasing the wheel a little bit more for some 3 things space. Maybe they have a dedicated room. Maybe they have the experience room over in the football center.
Yeah.
So maybe they'll have some kind of 3 things room at the well, I'll tell you what, we could take up a collection and donate a bunch of money to the basketball program and just call it the 3 things room, and we're the only ones allowed in there.
And all we need is a janitor's closet, really. Like, we just need a quiet room. It could be a
3x3
room. That's all we need, man.
We need 5Q so we can order the fish on Seinfeld.
Just need a table and a seat, man, and we'll figure it out. We'll figure out the backdrop on our own dime. We'll figure that one out. You just give us the room. We can figure something out with the backdrop. We'll put a green.
Someone just asked if we're taking questions. We have a question up there right now. We just
we're gonna take.
It's a fun one.
A little bit. Yeah. But that transitions us into the arena talk, which I want to have a conversation about. Again, we're going to come back to the coaching stuff with a lot of these questions. So don't just click out of here if you think we're never going to talk about that. Again, we are going to talk about a lot of that stuff later on. We're going to go about an hour, maybe a little bit over an hour in this one. We'll see where things go. But AJ, what kind of updates can you give us on the arena talk pausing? And I completely understand where Carolina's going with that. Like, it's kind of a no-brainer. Like, yeah, like when you're in this situation and you don't even have, I don't know, like a head basketball coach, you should probably like not talk about building an arena right now. That's probably not the top priority right now. And as you alluded to, it's a situation where when the new guy comes in, if you're still having all these arena discussions, putting out these podcasts every week, he's going to get asked about it. Like, and he's going to have no idea what anybody's even talking about with this new arena stuff. So what kind of, do you understand where Carolina's kind of coming from in pausing that arena talk? Is there any other information or updates you've kind of heard in regards to maybe what's going on with that? Because it's been an ongoing conversation and topic for, God, it feels like forever now, but it really picked up over the last couple months.
I can assure you no one from Tar Heel 24/7 would ever ask that question.
You wouldn't ask that at the introductory press conference, AJ? That wouldn't be your first question?
Can't do it.
Yeah, I'm shocked right there, AJ. I thought that'd be
What's your favorite salad combo from Top of the Hill?
That's a good one, man. You got
blackened
a good blueberry
or just
beer
grilled?
There, by the way. Fantastic blueberry beer at Top of the Hill.
Yeah,
I'm
not even going to entertain the idea that there's such thing as a blueberry beer. That to me
fantastic,
sounds
AJ. I'm telling you. Get involved in the comments if you've had the blueberry beer at Top of the Hill. I think it's a blueberry lager. It's absolutely fantastic, especially this time of year. Fantastic.
So the arena thing is very simple. There's a couple things. At first, it was advanced to me that, look, they may need to spend a lot of money to fund all of this because you have to pay off the current staff. Hubert gets a check. There are a couple of assistants that have another year in the contract. You pay them out. You have to then buy out whoever head coach, and then you have to pay for a new staff. So they're going to get more than the past staff did. I think they're prepared to spend a lot of money on the head coach. That's how you're going to get someone to come into that position. And then you have to fund a roster. They have the $7 million from the revenue share in the NIL, but they have to generate outside NIL now. It's not the old collective the way it used to be. And I know that Carolina is very prepared and been very aggressive in doing that. One of the reasons this decision was made a week ago is because they were struggling in that area. There was not a lot of confidence in the regime that was there in Hubert moving forward. That's partly one of many reasons why this decision ultimately was made. A new guy, there's going to be a lot more confidence, especially if they get one of the people we think they're going to get, right? So those outside NIL opportunities have to be big time. And the people who are going to help pay for the arena, maybe put some of the money up first, or at least ask to donate and sponsor this and sponsor that and get your name on this and that. That's a lot of money to fork over. Let's say if they started doing that in August, the same year that they made a massive coaching change. And by the way, the possibility of a bunch of buyouts in football around the corner are always there. They need to improve in the win-loss record dramatically this year. And it's a schedule that may not show a whole lot of improvement, even if there is improvement. So I think right now, the financial aspect of it, to just not have anything get in the way of it, be fully focused on financing this program. And the other thing more important is to just get it out of the way. It was an albatross hanging over everything. And you had disagreements. and you had Roy saying one thing and maybe someone else saying something else. This way, that's off the table, has nothing to do with anything. And the head coach gets to come in and gets to build his program without worrying about, well, I don't know if we're going to play in this arena or that arena when they're recruiting kids. He doesn't have to talk about that, doesn't have to field questions about that from parents or anybody else. And I think that that's a win-win. They made the right decision.
Yeah, just one comment. We got Darren Cox in the comment saying we've clickbaited because of our thumbnail, new info with the question mark. It was not a statement of new info exclamation point question mark, and that's
well, there is some new info.
But that's why in the thumbnail I had a question mark, because it was the discussion today has really been a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, and also kind of like the stuff that you've been hearing. So new info, yes, but in a lot of ways it's kind of the same candidates we've been talking about for the while, the ones that are still in play. You know what I mean? Yeah,
some of the new info is the chaos of today and some of the stuff that was advanced, and the bottom. We don't do clickbait, but the main thing was to come on here and just kind of chatter about it, because I haven't talked about it for a few days, and to take some questions. Yep. It's a living, breathing organism. It's like having a radio show. If 100%. You have a radio show Monday through Friday, let's say our radio show just started at 8:00 tonight, so we're going to come on. What we're going to talk about? You don't not do the radio show if there's not a whole lot of new information for people, and we don't do clickbait. That's such a
definitely not. Definitely not. Like, trust me, if we were trying to clickbait, I would put something crazy in the title. We could clickbait it. Clickbait it. We could definitely do that.
Clickbait's stupid.
Let's see.
I appreciate the comment and him raising it, but try another word. Clickbait.
Absolutely. I just wanted to address that, because I mean I don't want to confuse anybody here. Will UNC be in a different conference in 5 years, AJ? I just had to bring that one up. That's something we've talked about for a while. You know, I don't know. It's one of those things that a little while ago kind of felt like, yeah, maybe, but I don't know. Some of it's kind of gone quiet recently. I feel like maybe it's just
a rabbit hole. Is that a rabbit hole I want to jump into?
Maybe you don't have to give a big long spiel.
In 5 years? 2026, or are we talking 2030?
Maybe do probability.
Spring of 2031. I'm going to say no right now, because there are a lot of efforts being made behind the scenes to keep the ACC relevant. Miami will tell you, you know what? That wasn't too bad keeping all that cash. Because if you can make close to the same amount of money in the ACC by having tremendous postseason success, why would you go into a league that would be a lot more difficult to get to the postseason?
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I also think the ACC can be better. It should be better in basketball for sure. I do think it's getting there. It's improving. It needs to get back to where it was in 2019 when they had 3 number 1 seeds in a tournament. You know, football has been pretty decent in the past, but and it's okay now, but it needs to be a lot better. It needs to be good enough and have some splash wins enough that get the narrative changed about them. Because the narrative affects your TV ratings are more important now than ever before. So if the country doesn't think that Pitt's worth of crap, they're not going to watch him. But if the country thinks Pitt's okay, they might watch him. People watch Miami of Ohio in basketball because of curiosity.
I was watching them.
Yeah, and you start thinking, man, maybe they're pretty good. So we want to watch good teams. And the ACC, I think, has some work to do with its messaging and some other areas. But I also think that schools need to take it upon themselves to handle their revenue and generate their own revenue more. That's one of the reasons North Carolina wants to build a new arena, because the revenue isn't just for basketball, it's for across the board. And North Carolina wants to be in position to where it's spending as much as anybody else, if necessary, and that it can, and it has to have the resources to do that. So I would say right now, 5 years in spring of 31, no, but as we've learned in the last 8 years, literally nothing would be a shock.
No, nothing shocks me in college sports at all anymore. I wanted to put this question up here. You guys can read it, but again, essentially, what specific reasons do you think that make the UNC job more appealing than other head coaching positions like at Kentucky, et cetera? And one of the, I'll say this before I kick it to you, AJ. I think a lot of it comes back to the brand, and I've said this example on the podcast before. I went to France back in 2019 with a buddy of mine, one of my best friends. He actually grew up in France for about 15 years of his life. He's from there. So we went around France, long story short, and toured we went to Paris, we went to Normandy. I'm a massive World War II buff. So we went to Normandy. For those that have seen like Band of Brothers, we were literally staying in like the towns that a lot of those scenes were shot in, all that kind of stuff. Went around the country for about a month. And I'll never forget, I was in Paris one day, and I saw this multiple times. But I did not see any other people wearing any universities. But one of the jerseys that I saw in Paris, multiple people walking around with that was North Carolina basketball jerseys. And they weren't all Jordan ones. A lot of them were. But again, I always bring that example up because I think it speaks to the brand. And from my experiences going on a trip like that and noticing that multiple times really showed me, as someone who grew up in this area, but grew up a guy that, watched Carolina a ton and supported Carolina, to see that in a completely different country that could care less about college basketball, really, just speaks to the type of brand that I think North Carolina has that I don't even think really compares in basketball to a Kentucky, for instance. I mean, Kentucky's still a massive brand in basketball, but the global kind of reach that Carolina has for a number of different reasons, including Michael Jordan, obviously, I think is completely different. So the brand obviously plays a pretty big factor in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can share two very quick stories, and we can continue to answer that question because I think it's a really good question. And I'm glad that Jonathan, is that Jonathan? Jonathan asked that.
Yeah, great
question. I didn't wear my glasses, and I think I got the name right. How about that?
Good stuff, man. Yeah,
so my sister used to live in Ishpeming, Michigan, which is way the hell up in the Upper Peninsula. And Northern Michigan University is up that way. Okay. Mm-hmm. So she sent me a photograph one time when she was shopping in a store and it had gear of 4 schools. It had UNM, Northern Michigan. And she sent me a Northern Michigan sweatshirt, believe it or not. I wore it once or twice. Michigan State, Michigan, and North Carolina. This is 20 years ago. So gosh, maybe around 20 years ago, I covered the national championship in St. Louis when Carolina beat Illinois. I came home the next day. I flew out to San Francisco to see the guy who was ultimately the best man at my wedding. I was the best man in his, and we're down at the wharf area where all the seals are, and a ton of bars and restaurants and all kinds of stuff. And there's some shops there, and there is a shop that has sporting goods in it. And in the window, sitting there on 2 mannequins, is a Duke uniform and a Carolina basketball uniform, San Francisco. So, maybe Kentucky's there. Maybe my eyes aren't drawn to Kentucky as much as it would be to an ACC school or certainly to a Carolina because of the colors and everything like that. But it's just bigger in the sense that as much as Kentucky has an incredible program, it doesn't have Jordan. It doesn't have that. Their legendary coaches are more recent. Dean and then Roy. Rupp was a long time ago, and a lot of people don't really care much for Rupp's past and what he stood for and those kinds of things. And also, Kentucky has a more insane fan base. Kentucky fans are absolutely insane.
I want to know why. I need to talk to David about
so many
this
stories. I've heard so many. We should get David on here to do it, but so many stories. I told John Henson last week, I think it was last week, that sitting in the first row of the stands behind me when I was at press row for the 2011 regional title in the Meadowlands, or in Newark, actually, the Newer Arena in Newark. Right behind me was Ashley Judd, screaming, calling him String Bean, by the way. Screaming String Bean at him.
You're calling Henson String Bean?
Yeah. Screaming and yelling, and I'm not sure she was even imbibing. I've experienced the Kentucky fan. They're crazy, but I love their craziness. I love their passion. You could argue Kansas, you can argue Kentucky and all that. I mean, I think currently Duke's name resonates more than any of the others, but I think when you look at the platform of what can be, I think North Carolina is number one, and you'll find if you talk to agents, by and large, that's what you hear. If you talk to other coaches in the industry, that's by and large what you hear. The number one would most of the arrows would point back to Chapel Hill.
That's a great comment right there. Sorry, I had to throw that one in there real quick. That was a good comment to throw in there real quick. Nice little joke. I love a little humor in here, Edge. I love a little humor in here, man. See if we got any other questions coming up in there. Who's keeping the current roster informed on? Get your questions in, by the way. We are going to transition into the Q&A section right here. Who's the current roster? I mean, it's Jim Tanner is my understanding.
Yeah, right? Jim Tanner's. There's still coaches around. I know that Bubba and Newmark spoke with the team, but Jim Tanner it's from a source very close to the situation. Quote, business as usual, end quote. So
I figured him. Yeah, it's
the players know enough of what's going on. They've shown a lot of patience. They do want to wait and see. There's a lot of players on this roster that have eligibility to return, and the staff that Hubert's staff. Talking to some people connected to Hubert's staff back in the fall, they thought at that point they had a great chance to keep a lot of the guys, and I think they thought going into March they still had a chance to keep a lot of the guys. Some are going to go. And there were some relationships that maybe weren't great because there's never going to be 15 perfect coach player relationships on a roster. But some of those guys are just kind of waiting to see what happens. So I think they have a chance to keep some dudes. There's some that want to stay if they can, but I'll let them make those decisions. I don't want to jump out in front and get in the way of that. These kids deserve the right to make their decisions publicly known when they see fit. By the way, I see a Mike Messina.
Mike Messina.
Matt Doherty.
You got my wife in the comments, by the way. Shout out Carly over here asking a fantastic question. Let me put my wife's
Carly's in here?
Yeah, Carly is on the live stream. What are you most looking forward to with a new coach? That is 100% Carly originated question. And Carly could care less about sports. Absolutely care less about sports. So I'm very impressed by that question right there, just to come in with something. I'm surprised she even knows there's a new coaching search going on. I'm joking about that. She obviously does.
I'm looking. I can answer the question. I think Carly. It's a great question. Nice to see you in here.
Fantastic question, AJ.
Why aren't you doing something else with your time right now? I don't know.
That's question of the night, AJ.
I guarantee you my wife's not watching this thing right now. She's got
You're telling
Netflix
me Kim's not sitting in the living room with you watching us on TV right now. Come on.
She
Kim.
watches something called Midwife or something on Netflix that I just can't stomach.
We have to be more entertaining than that. I refuse to believe we're not more entertaining than that.
I don't know what the hell it is. The answer to the question, what am I looking forward to? I always like change in the sense that I think change was needed. If it could have happened with Hubert, I would have thought that would have been fine, but there were certain aspects of the way Hubert's teams played that just weren't going to change. So I think a more open brand of basketball, just to see how somebody new does things. We may end up talking about Dusty May switches too much or whatever. Who the hell knows? We may do that stuff next winter. It doesn't mean we know more. It means we're supposed to observe and talk about what we observe and see. But I'm looking forward to some newness. I'm looking forward to seeing how it's received by the public. It's going to be a big deal because they're going outside the family. I'm looking forward to seeing how Roy, the patriarch of Carolina basketball, welcomes this person in. I think there's going to be a lot of great stories. I'm looking forward to press conferences where questions are answered. I'm looking forward to having more storylines and unique storylines to write about. And quite frankly, if this person wins at a level that I think that they can, whoever it is, if it's one of these three, I'm looking forward to getting back and covering a Final Four. I've covered one Final Four since 2017. And I like it. It's part of the reward, man. We grind like crazy, and part of the reward is getting to cover some big time stuff. And I love doing it. And I love burning the midnight oil for our listeners and our readers and all that stuff. So I'm just looking forward, and I'm looking forward to it ending.
Yeah, I'm about to say the searches are, yeah.
I'm looking forward to it ending.
All right, let's go. Yeah.
Yeah, I hit that wall at about 6:30 tonight when I'm thinking, I'm waiting for a phone call. I have to shower. We're coming on doing this. I'm like, well, do I swear this is truth? Do I shower now and run the risk of missing a phone call?
Yeah,
swear to God.
Yeah.
That's the way it is.
You just got to do what you got to do, man. It's that type of thing. But I agree with you. I think, just to answer that question real quick, I think the biggest thing I'm looking forward to, AJ, and I've talked about this a few times since Hubert was fired, but just the fact that this is the first time Carolina is going to be essentially going outside the family since 1952, getting to kind of cover that and experience that and see what it's like, because it's something I haven't experienced before. It's something none of us have really experienced before. Very, 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 very few have ever.
You're looking at a 12-month window where Bill Belichick was a head coach at North Carolina football, and they went outside the family in basketball.
I know, just a complete shift. But you talked about the new Carolina, AJ. I mean, that's it. We've said this before, but it was not meant to be just a football thing. Like, Carolina wants to get back to these major sports, competing and winning championships, especially in basketball.
Yeah, I'll repeat again very quickly. Before Belichick was on the radar, they had already made the commitment to spend on football. But they had also made the commitment to spend on basketball. There was a little bit of a misnomer that they didn't have enough money in the NIL budget 2 years ago. I think there were some mistakes made. It wasn't the money they had this past year for the roster. More mistakes were made. It'll be very interesting, by the way, to answer Carly's question as well, to see what the organizational process is with a new coach. Like, how big is the GM staff? How good is their advanced scouting? Because clearly they need to have guys scouted, so when they hit the portal, they know a lot about them. They can call up a lot of stuff. I think they were kind of late getting to some of that before. It was also a new situation, a new GM staff, and I'll be honest about this as well. Hubert wasn't exactly chomping at the bit to have a GM and have a staff help him out with stuff like that. So that was part of what they had to battle through a year ago. But the money is the money, the desire, the intent are all there to be as good as they possibly can. I just got a text message, so carry on. Let me look at it.
Yeah. No, you take your time over there. Thoughts on the Will Wade State divorce? I had to bring this up. I mean, it's not Carolina related, but I guess everything,
I'm getting source text, by the way, right here live.
There you go.
Unfortunately, I can't. Unfortunately, nothing was confirmed. So,
okay, well, that's unfortunate. Yeah, that's not the news we want to hear over here. No doubt about it. But yeah, AJ, the thoughts on the Will Wade and State divorce? It was fascinating to see play out. I mean, we'll just hit on it real quick. I've seen a couple of questions about it, so I figured we hit on it. I thought it was hilarious personally. I just think the whole way it played out was just very funny to me. I was not shocked. And I also think I have some buddies that are State fans. One of my best friends I've known since he was the first friend I ever met in North Carolina when I moved here back in first grade, long time ago. He's a State fan. And I've been talking to him a little bit, and I think he even described like he wasn't really surprised because he always kind of felt like ultimately Will Wade was going to go back to LSU. I think he even called it like a stepping stone job in a way. Like, I know there's some State fans probably surprised about it, but for me, I always felt like it was going to happen. I just didn't necessarily think it was going to happen this quick. So all the Red Reckoning stuff, the Jim Valvano pose in Reynolds College, like all that stuff is just, again, it's very comical. I find it very funny to watch from an outside perspective because I could care less like really what State's got going on down the road. I mean, I want State. I will say this. When State is good in basketball, it is better for the area and it's better for the league. So if Justin Gainey can come in and turn them around and get them going on the right track again, fantastic. I think that's good for everybody. It's good for the rivalry as well. But the whole Will Wade situation, I think, and just the way it played out from the beginning, man, it was just a weird situation all the way around. But I'm not surprised he bolted. Not surprised in the slightest.
There's some people that are just inherently unlikable, and Will Wade is just inherently unlikable.
He kind of is one of those guys, man.
I just think, I mean, he's got to be one of the most audacious people to come around the triangle in some time.
He definitely
for the negatives. Mark Gottfried. I wouldn't have trusted my wallet with Mark Gottfried. I sure as hell wouldn't have with Will Wade. But Will Wade, the posing of those photos it rubbed me the wrong way. And State fans wanted so bad. They want to be consistently relevant. They want 2024 was it to be kind of a regular thing, or at least be near that. And I get it. I think the ACC would be better off, and the area would be better off if they are. I thought Will Wade, if he would stay, was going to do a great job at State because he is a good coach. But at the same time, man, he lost his team this year. Maybe they knew. Maybe he wasn't all in. They said that he was talking to LSU for a while. Maybe those kids sensed it and he wasn't all in. And he didn't prepare as well. Maybe he didn't give them what he should have. I'd be pissed if I was a State fan, and I would hate LSU, and I'd hope that he loses every game. And now he's LSU's problem. He's not yours. Justin Gainey's a good man. He's a good dude. I remember when Justin was a freshman, Herb Sendek's first year.
He probably covered him. I was about to say.
I covered his first start. I think his first start was at UVA. State played at UVA in January of '97. And State lost. I think they were 0-8, and then they split the last day and got to the ACC title game. David Thompson was sitting on press row. This is my first ACC tournament. I am as wet behind the ears. I'm dripping. I'm wet behind the ears, right? And I'm sitting 2 seats over, and there's nobody between us. David Thompson, as NC State beats Duke with the 8 seed over the 1 seed on that Friday in the quarterfinals of the ACC tournament. And it was pretty wild. And Justin Gainey's a starting point guard. As a freshman, he looked like he was 14 years old. So Justin Gainey is a good hire. I think it's worth it. If it works with one of their own. I also think that's good because the stories that come out. I covered Sydney a lot. I covered Sydney Lowe a lot, and Sydney just wasn't a very good coach, but it was cool that he was there because at least you can connect to the history some. And that's one of the things I liked about Hubert. I like connecting to the history. I like the stories. 100%. I like to be able to, there's that picture of Hubert in the press room. And you look at him there and you look at him as the coach. I just think stuff like that's cool. And so State will have that with Justin. Gosh, if Hubert would have maybe won a couple more games, you'd have Shire, Gainey, and Hubert all as head coaches at their alma maters. And by the way, guards. All of them are guards.
True.
So
all pretty good too.
Will Wade is, man, I'm so glad I didn't cover him because a couple of times with some of the responses he gave. And Joe Giglio, kudos to you The Darian Williams stuff. I would have gone back. I would have gone back on that. I would have gone back and just
you would have,
especially in Dayton.
Yeah, you definitely would.
Or I guess it was the ACC tournament when he had 4 points or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, you definitely. It would have been an interesting. It would have been cinematic. It would have been fantastic to watch. But Eric Hoots, AJ, I've seen a lot of talk about Eric Hoots, a guy that's he's been around the program for 20 years now, just a staple within the program. A lot of behind the scenes stuff. What have you been hearing anything about him? And because there's been a lot of chatter about him, and I understand why former players and people would love to keep a guy like him around, because he's also the guy you'll see a lot of the times that will, when, for instance, you'll see pictures of Hubert going to watch someone, maybe one of the former players play, or Roy back in the day, go watch one of the former NBA, go watch some former guys that are in the NBA or playing somewhere. Hoots was with him a lot of the times. So I think that kind of speaks to his role and what he does in a lot of different ways. I know he's a guy you know relatively well too, obviously, but
I have an incredible amount of respect for Eric Hoots. Eric Hoots is not like Will Wade. He's the opposite of Will Wade. He's a quality human being, good man. He's a part of the program. To me, I think Eric Hoots should be treated kind of like the walls of the Dean Dome. You're not going to knock down the walls for a new coach. And I think Hoots needs to be there. Hoots is the program chaperone. He's the organizer. He's a guy that shows recruits around. He's a guy that takes care of a lot of the former players. He wears a lot of hats. He wears them well. And the new coach needs to have some connection. Not to appease, but because I think it's vital to move forward, knowing a little bit about what you're getting yourself into. One of the big mistakes Matt Doherty made, among many, was he came in and just blitzkrieged everything and did it his own way, and he had been away for a while. So that he started off on a bad foot. Hopefully the new coach will keep Hoots. I hope they would keep Doug Halverson and a few others at minimum, kind of keep that thing going, because there are some aspects to Carolina basketball that only those guys understand, and they can help a new coach understand it a little bit better as well.
Got a little trivia question here for you, AJ. I'm over here churning my wheels my brain wheels as well. I'm not going to probably never going to think of this. And AJ, is there any elite NCAA coach who played in the NBA that won a national championship? I'm trying to think. Is there any elite NCAA coach who played in the NBA that won a national title? I'm trying to think myself. It's a little trivia.
Is there a current college coach?
I don't even think it has to be current.
I'm getting text messages on some stuff right now as we're talking. Well, Billy Donovan played 44 games in the NBA.
Yeah, and he won
2 titles. No, Final Four at Providence.
Yes, I was about to say I didn't think he won a national title.
That was a Final Four with Providence, Syracuse, Indiana, and Vegas.
Oh, I'm confused. I thought he was saying for a second. I got confused on the question. Okay.
As a player, Rick Pitino was his coach at Providence, and Billy Donovan was just.
Which is wild, AJ, because there's only a 12-year age difference between Billy Donovan and Rick Pitino.
Pitino was coaching in his 20s, man.
Yeah, which shows you just how long he's been coaching. You know what
I mean? Pitino, unbelievable. And I told you something about Pitino earlier.
Yeah, you did.
Can't say it here.
I know you can't say it on here. Maybe
it might be in the report. It might be in the report tonight.
Which is why you come on over.
I'm trying to get that confirmed.
Taro247.com, 75%
So the question is there an elite NCAA coach who played in the NBA and won a natty?
Yeah. And I'm assuming he means won a national championship as a coach. I thought in the beginning maybe meant as a player, but I don't. That's where I'm a little bit confused. I'm not exactly sure, but I'm going to assume he means it played in the NBA and also won a national championship.
I'd have to sit here and think about past coaches
that
have won titles.
Because I was like, let's test AJ's trivia knowledge, because you can pull some stuff out.
Yeah, I can, and I've got 3 text messages are popping up right now. So it's drawing me away from it. I think Kevin Ollie played in the NBA some. He won a title at UConn.
Some kind of name. That's all I was looking for. Just something to throw out there.
Boy, Hubert was 20 minutes away from it.
What about this one, AJ? Am I crazy?
John, well, if you want to go back a long time, John Thompson did it. And you go back in the 80s, there's some guys back then that did
That's true.
stuff
too.
But,
I don't know.
But current, I'd have to rack my brain. There's a lot more former NBA players that coach in college now than used to. Not as many NBA guys used to get into coaching into college level a long time ago, but there are a lot more of them now.
A lot.
Which is good.
Absolutely. Am I crazy thinking Golden is the guy? I don't think you're crazy in terms of his ability to coach, maybe being saying he has the ability to coach at a program like North Carolina? No, I don't think you're crazy for that. Are you crazy for saying he is going to be the guy? Yeah, absolutely. I think you're crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it means you haven't been paying attention the last week.
Yeah, we've been talking.
Todd Golden was never. I'm gonna tell you guys right now, Golden and Oates were never candidates. They were never on the radar. Never, ever, 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 ever. If anybody says they pulled their names out, well, they missed on Oates. They didn't. Oates wanted. Oates was interested. His agent called Carolina. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, I'm sure.
His agent reached out. Carolina said, no, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you that with absolute certainty.
Yeah, we were talking about that. I remember talking to you about that like the day after Hubert got fired, I think is when it was. I think it was literally the day after. Heck, it might have been the day of. I think it was the day of it. No, it was the day after. It was definitely the day after. Which, yeah, just kind of shows what.
I'm responding to one of the text messages.
No, take your time, man. We'll take a couple more questions. We're going to go about 10 more minutes in here. Appreciate everybody that's in here. Get your questions in. Someone asking about Ben McCullum. I put that one up on the screen. I know you've had some information in some of your reports recently on the boards about. I know Ben McCullum's at least been in there a little bit in terms of.
Yeah, I threw a name in there.
Kind of a B tier guy, maybe potentially.
It's like this, dude. In case everything just crashes and burns.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I don't. Nothing I've had confirmed. I mean, the only names that have really come up, and I've said this before, and some of this I could say now. Otzelberger's name never really came up. I know there are reports that he was right there, but his name never really came up. I know that there were questions about fit. I had a conversation with someone around basketball last week about how he doesn't kind of fit the Carolina suit, and his approach sort of the same thing. McCollum was at D2 a couple of years ago. The podcast you and I did about the seat was a very important podcast, and we were kind of giving people information, understanding that this is a lot more than just about getting Bennett Sturts to hit jump shots and getting Iowa to a regional final or winning titles at Northwest Missouri State in D2 and being a great coach there, and he's a great coach. There's no doubt about it. But you got to be able to sit in that seat. You got to handle the seat. And one thing that really grabbed people from the VCU game was how Hubert froze. And it kind of reminded people of the gravitas, the high degree of gravitas that's needed in that position that Roy had, that Dean had, that Guthridge had for his 3 years. And Hubert may have been growing toward, I still believe that, and I got criticism for this, I still believe Hubert was growing as a coach. He made some progress this year as a head coach, took steps forward, but he's 55. North Carolina's not really a training ground, all that kind of stuff, and they found out.
And it wasn't all bad this year. Like, let's not rewrite history.
No,
like,
it wasn't all bad. No, it wasn't all bad at all
for Carolina. You know what I mean?
He got them. Look, they had a lot of injuries. There were a lot of things that didn't go great, and he was able to kind of keep them through. But at the end, when they needed the head coach to be the leader, at the very end, he wasn't. And that was the tipping point, obviously. Not going to go too deep into that, but anybody that was in D2 a few years ago, kind of hard to see them sitting in that seat right now. Now, if everything falls apart with their A-list candidates, then maybe someone like him can get it done. He may be able to go in there and not even be affected by the seat at all. Just coach his pants off and win a bunch of games. The next thing you know, he's loved, and the seat suddenly isn't that big. I don't know.
Yeah, I know what you mean. You never know, but I completely understand where you're
coming
from.
Phone is blowing up, so keep going.
No, yeah, for sure. Again, we're going to go about a little bit less than 10 minutes longer in this one. Tommy, Dusty, Billy in that order. Personally, in terms of and I've been talking about this for a while now, so I'll go ahead and say it. I think we both discussed this before. For me, I've kind of flip-flopped. Tommy's been my number one choice the whole time for reasons I've already talked about, so I won't go into that. But I just think I don't really need to sit here and explain to you why I think he'd be an absolutely fantastic hire for North Carolina. But I've flip-flopped between like Dusty and Billy. And again, this isn't about who do I think Carolina is going to get. This is my personal opinion on who I think the top three would be. And I think yesterday I tweeted like it would still be, or put on our boards, it would still be Tommy, Billy, and Dusty. But I flip-flopped between Dusty and Billy because I really like a lot of the stuff I'm seeing from Dusty May. And the more I look into him and the success he had at FAU and everything like that, not only that, but me and David talked about it in our show this past week, and we did on him. But like what he's been able to do in his 2 years at Michigan, I mean, he hasn't skipped a beat really the last like 4 years, and 2 of those years were at FAU. So I go back and forth a little bit, but I would probably still go Tommy, Billy, and then Dusty. But I'll just say this, man. I really genuinely don't think you can go wrong with any three of them. If Carolina gets one of those three guys, I don't foresee really a problem. I think all those guys would be really good hires. I just think maybe like one's an A+ hire and maybe another one's a B+ or an A hire. You know what I mean?
I don't know if any of them would. The only way it would be a B hire is if Donovan got to the college game and realized that he just doesn't want to deal with certain things that he doesn't have to deal with in the NBA. That's where Donovan. That's where Donovan is a risk.
That's the only thing that
like that, and they could turn around and be in this situation a few years from now, and guys like Lloyd and May would have passed by. They weren't going to be options anymore. So, and I think that originally when Hubert and we started hearing from Donovan people and some donors originally were like, man, we could get Billy Donovan because they're thinking of Billy the Kid, all the great Florida teams. He had some success in the NBA. Dude, Coach James Harden. Every kid can identify with that when you talk to on the trail. But when they started, I think it was really important for everybody to see the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight because Arizona and Michigan are better than everybody else. That Michigan 21-0 run on Tennessee was disgusting.
Yeah,
it was unbelievable. They beat Rick Barnes at Rick Barnes basketball, but added all the skill and flair to it that was necessary.
It was quick too. That game flipped on its head.
It was boom. Yeah, I mean, Tennessee had a nice little thing going there, and it was a little bit of a struggle for Michigan. All of a sudden, boom, 21-0. And they literally carved out their soul. You could see the body language just deteriorate over a span of 5.5 minutes. But then you look at Arizona in the Sweet 16. Alabama's going to run. Giddy up, boys. Well, let's score 108 points. Purdue comes at you and says, we are going to elbow and hip the hell out of you for 40 minutes tonight. And they score 50 points or whatever in the second half and say, adios, kids. I mean, they're damn good. They can play any style. Michigan can play any style. Honestly, it's like, do you want filet mignon on this table or do you want filet mignon on that table? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's the plate that it's served on. One's a white plate, the other one's an eggshell white plate, right?
Yeah.
I think Donovan could be just as good if he is recharged, like his people are saying, and he believes that the college game is more suited for him now than before, almost like you got to recharge for college. I don't know. I personally, I don't really have a choice in it. I really like what I see from Tommy Lloyd. I like what I see from May, although I do think that there's some aspects of May that you might want to wonder about because he didn't want the Louisville job because of the fishbowl. He could have gone to Indiana.
Yeah, he went to Indiana,
which is
he
was a student manager under Bob Knight, but Jeff Goodman, whom I know, and I worked with Jeff at Fox, and spoke with Jeff before the Carolina Duke game for like 15 minutes. Jeff is connected. I know he says some things sometimes that people get on him about. I get that. We all do. People get on me about what I say, but he knows he could pick up the phone and make phone calls and get information. And I thought it was interesting when he said that Dusty May didn't really want to be in a fishbowl. You could achieve everything at Michigan, and you've got all that crazy stuff going on with the football program over there, and basketball is just humming along, kicking everybody's butt.
Yeah, it's a little bit smoother.
And there's something to say about going to pump your own gas and not being harassed. You come to North Carolina, you go pump your own gas right there at that Exxon out there when you're leaving campus. Someone's going to see you and come over and get a selfie and all that kind of stuff. Some guys are okay with that. Some guys want that. Some guys don't want that. So I'm just going by what Jeff said and what I've kind of sensed in a few other circles. But as a basketball coach, if he were to take the job, that means he's not worried about the fishbowl. It means he embraces what goes with it. I like Tommy Lloyd.
I really
watched every second of what his team did this weekend, and I thought to myself, there's a lot of Carolina.
Dude, his style fits Carolina. Me and David talked about that in the podcast, man. But
keep in mind, Mark Few learned a lot of stuff from Roy. Mm-hmm. The secondary break. Gonzaga perfected the secondary break, and he learned it from Roy. Taught it. His staff learned it from Roy. So you see some of that stuff in what Arizona does. I think Carolina fans, if the teams are playing at their peak with what each of these men would want them to do, how they want them to look, I think Carolina fans would probably prefer by a smidge the Tommy Lloyd approach and then the Dusty May approach. And I think it's kind of hard to think of what Donovan's would be. You just have to go back to 10 years ago, 12 years ago. Now it's pretty impressive. A little bit different, but impressive.
The only, and we talked about this in the, I keep saying it, but go watch the shows me and David did that we kind of did the case for Tommy Lloyd, the case for Billy Donovan, the case for Dustin May. But I remember the Tommy Lloyd, but the only thing that is unfortunate with the Tommy Lloyd situation from a Carolina perspective is just how much money it's going to cost you to get him. Like I know the buyout goes down a little bit after April 1st, but it's still a big chunk of change, man. It just is. And it's unfortunate because I think
they're working on that.
Yeah, Billy Donovan, you don't have a buyout with him. Tommy Lloyd, it's a big one. Dusty May, I believe, was 6 to 7 million, I think. I had it written down before because we talked about it on the show. So it's a little bit lower. But again, I think the ROI would be fantastic. I know it's a lot of money, but I
think an Arizona person is in here because they said the UNC is a step down from Arizona. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about that one right there, but it's I would hope an Arizona fan would say that. So I'm glad you did come on here and say you need to.
You know what? If I was an Arizona fan, I'd think the same thing.
You got to have
they
that
have a great
mindset.
program,
Yeah.
And you know what's cool is there are some similarities. There's some similarities in that. Lute Olson is their Dean Smith, and let's say Tommy Lloyd comes in. Tommy Lloyd went there. He was hired about 8 months after Lute died. He replaced Sean Miller, who had some trouble. He won some, but had some issues, and he won right away. But that was a pretty big seat for an assistant coach, and they were interviewing other former Arizona players for the job. So guys like Stoudemire, who at the time was considered an up-and-comer at Pacific, Pastner just won the ACC tournament at Georgia Tech, which
Jose Alvarado,
which is the biggest asterisk in the history of ACC tournament, but he still won it. Alvarado was a stud. They're going to have to immortalize the mask, the shield that he wore during that.
Elite shield.
Unbelievable.
Shield, yeah. Fantastic.
And they were also looking at Miles Simon. Remember what Billy Packer said? Simon says championship in 97. He led them to a national championship. He's on the Lakers staff. So Tommy Lloyd got the job over them. So he got it over Arizona family. He went into a situation where they swear by Lute Olson, where they prop things up. And the other day, I thought it was so cool when he was talking after the game about there's a good looking white haired man smiling down on here because Lute Olson's hair was never out of place. So
I want to end the live stream on this question, Edge. We're gonna wrap it up here in a few minutes. Been going about an hour and 12 right now. But I wanted to bring the question up on the screen because it has been something I'm seeing more and more, not only on our boards, but on Twitter, to read the question. So if it's Donovan, we don't need to be disappointed. Not necessarily phrased by that, but I have seen, and we talked about this going back to the beginning, Edge. I think we talked about this on podcast too, but I know I've talked to you off camera, where one of the things with Donovan that I felt like was always going to be this, people love low-hanging fruit. We all do. Low-hanging fruit, I know with Billy Donovan was going to be, Carolina hired another guy over the age of 60, 61 right now. I knew that was going to be a topic of conversation, and also maybe drawing other parallels to another like Belichick hire, for instance. It would be, he's a guy that's been out of the college game. And Belichick says he never coached in the college game. But in Billy Donovan's case, it's a guy that's been out of the college game since 2015 when he went to the OK City Thunder. So I am a little bit surprised that as this search continues, and we're only, 6 days into it now, I'm seeing an increasing amount of Carolina fans that don't like the idea of Billy Donovan. And for me, that's something that has shifted, at least publicly, that I've seen in the last 48 hours.
You know why?
I feel like it's that low-hanging fruit thing where people are like, Carolina's just going to go out there and hire an old coach. And I see where people are coming from with that, but I didn't necessarily think it would happen this quickly. I thought it would be something that would be maybe used against him if he was hired and maybe didn't have instant success, whatever the heck that is at Carolina. But I'm a little bit surprised that I'm seeing that more and more now. It's not the majority, but it's come up more often. I'm sure it's something you've seen on.
I think it's an easy explanation. They just watched Arizona and Michigan this weekend. Look incredible.
Yeah, it's like the new shiny toy kind of thing. Like, go get that.
But more than that is they want plug and play. Carolina basketball has to be really damn good next year. You have been consistent with Roy's last 2 years at 32 and 30. And they've been to one regional final since 2017. It's time to get back there. I wrote the column going into the ACC tournament. It's time Carolina cuts down the nets in this event. I understand the bigger one is the weekend after, but if you're going to play it, try to win the damn thing, right? Yeah. And they've only won 3 this century. since the year after Dean retired, won 4 since Dean retired. So I think Carolina fans want to win right away. And if you look at if you look at Dusty May and you look at Tommy Lloyd, they pick up, they move to Chapel Hill, they plant, and they're going to sprout the same damn thing in Chapel Hill that they're doing in Ann Arbor and Tucson. I don't think that it's wrong to think that. I think it makes a lot of sense, to be perfectly honest with you. I think it's very wishful, and I think it's very logical. And Carolina will hire them to do that. They're not going to hire them and say, okay, guys, Tommy Lloyd, we're giving you 5 years. Dusty May, I know you took FAU to the Final Four a couple years ago, and you turned Michigan around right away after the way that everything ended with Juwan Howard. We're going to give you 5 years. No, you're going to win right away. You're winning 30 games next year, and you're playing the second weekend minimum. That's what they want to pay for. That's what they're going to pay for. I'm sure that's part of the messaging, maybe not so demonstrably, but that's part of the messaging. And the people that take that job, that's their mission. You're not taking that job because it's a great payday. You're going to get a great payday at home if you stay. You take that job because you want to be special. You want to be special at a special place. And to be special, you have to have special results. Well, that's what they want. So I think people saw in Arizona and Michigan basketball they haven't seen very often in Chapel Hill for a while, and they want to see it again. And I think that that's probably why those two have surfaced above Billy Donovan. And let's face it, a lot of people don't remember Donovan's teams that well. And his next to last year, they were 35-3 and went to a Final Four. They damn near won the title.
Mm-hmm.
They were really good. They were as good as Michigan and Arizona are right now.
Yeah, I don't think they were good. I think his last year, I don't know what went on his last year.
His last year was 16-17.
Yeah, they weren't great that year, which surprised me. But no, but you're right, though. If you look at just before that, I mean, he had just a fantastic run at Florida. I mean,
he had a couple of freshmen that year. He relied heavily on freshmen.
Yeah.
After a while.
Yeah.
And a couple of his freshmen didn't really pan out that year. And he lost a lot of guys from the year before. So but I think it makes a lot of sense that people are thinking, May or Lloyd, and I'll be happy with either one, because I don't think Carolina could go wrong with either one. And the fan bases that have those guys, enjoy them, man. They're great coaches. Oh,
they're fantastic, man. And that's why I described Billy Donovan earlier as like a B+ hire. It's not that I don't think he's a good coach. Obviously he is. It's just there is more of a lot bigger of a question mark with him because he's just been out of the college game for so long. I think one of the positives with him, though, AJ, is which way has the college game been moving the last few years? It's moving towards more of an NBA style. So I don't think that would be an issue at all in terms of the X's and O's. I think the question mark would be dealing with NIL, dealing with recruiting. Do you really want to put up with that? Because back in 2015, man, like it wasn't going down like that. So it's just a completely different thing. We got Get Hurley on the screen. I've seen about
I had to put that there.
Hurley shouts in the comments tonight. I think it would be pretty funny. That's all I'll say about it. I think it'd be pretty funny for a number of different reasons, AJ.
Okay. Most people watching, I think, know who Brendan Marks is from The Athletic. If you don't, check out his work. Brendan's phenomenal. He's one of the young up-and-coming stars. I have tremendous amount of respect for him in every way. And 100%. Brendan spent some time up there in Stores and got a chance to get behind the curtain, if you will. And he said that Hurley was great. Let him behind the curtain. He's got personality. He's relaxed. There's nothing pretentious about him. He knows he's great. He's not worried about stuff.
He's got personality for sure.
It was completely the opposite of what you'd think he's like when you watch him during games. And I absolutely love that. I love that. I think that's cool. And I think Brendan was very pleasantly surprised, ended up writing a really good piece. So, but Hurley's not. He's where he needs to be. And who knows how long he wants to do that there. I can see him, cramming a few in, maybe get another one, and then, I'm going to go do something else. The Hurley's like with horses. Maybe they get ready. He and Bobby can go buy some more horses. The question is, does Bobby join his staff? Bobby was on the floor when Leitner hits the shot. Here's the thing about the other night. I got to clear my throat real fast.
Yeah, go ahead, man. Do your thing. Any more questions? Wrap them up. AJ, I think you're still muted, by the way. Get your last couple questions in and we'll be done. We're going to wrap this up in about 5 more minutes. I'll go a little bit longer.
That was my tech savvy there. So
I didn't get one in.
My wife was watching the games the other day, and I know her head was spinning, or she just completely tuned me out. And I'm trying to explain to her with all that stuff going on. So you've got this historic shot by Mullins, right? Well, on the head coach of the team that beat Duke, which had Leitner back in 92, hit the famous shot against Kentucky. So let's kind of connect dots. In the broadcast booth is Grant Hill. Grant Hill inbounded the ball to Leitner. Leitner, one dribble, turn, scores. One of the great shots in NCAA tournament history. Duke ends up winning back-to-back titles. In this game, Grant's in the calling the game. Bobby Hurley was on the floor, was Duke's point guard, 92, on the floor when that play happened. His brother's the head coach of Connecticut, and this stuff happens again, but it's happening to Duke this time. College basketball is cool when stuff like that kind of intersects every once in a while. And I just thought that was a little bit more to add to what a neat moment that was the other night. What a wild, wild finish. And by the way, 15-5-0-1, 19-point leads are not kind to 15-5-0-1 in this NCAA tournament.
Not at all, man. And Kim definitely tuned you out when you were explaining that to her, by the way.
She has no idea that Duke and UConn even played, probably.
What
was it? She's like this on her phone, watching midwife on her phone with a little ear pod in, and I don't even know.
That's cool. That's
yapping
cool,
away.
That's really cool. That's really cool, honey. Yeah, saying something like that. Yeah. I had to throw this one up there because he's absolutely right. If you've been following us along, Jacob, 5 minutes, 30 minutes ago, just like a preacher, you're absolutely right. Every podcast we do, if you've been watching us, is supposed to go about 20 minutes, and we go an hour and 20. So that's how we do it around here. So great comment right there. You're absolutely right about that. That's what we do.
I think you should open one of the daily drops by saying, okay, guys, we're just here. We say, hey, we're about to get out right now. It's going to be the quickest daily drop ever. And then we start telling stories.
What I should do, maybe this is reverse psychology. I should go, all right, guys, this is going to be a 6-hour podcast. And maybe we'll go 15 minutes.
5.5.
Yeah.
5.5.
Maybe we'll go 15 minutes if I do that for once in our life.
Someone will complain. You said 6 hours and you only gave us 5.5. Come
on,
man.
We didn't go long enough. I'm trying to see. There's any other questions? We're going to wrap this up in a second.
Orioles lost tonight.
Someone actually asked a question about the Orioles, AJ. We'll end it with that. Here we go. I'm glad you said
I have them on. I had the game on here in my office.
Here we go. So. How long will the Orioles remain 500 or better, AJ?
Okay. So my wife did hear, and I think she was probably pretty pleased with this. The other night, I said on opening day, I am, for the first time in my life, I'm giving no prediction for a record or where they'll finish in the American League East. And I have no hope. I'm not hoping. I'm almost going to approach it like if I'm covering the team. I'm just going to go along with it day by day. This is what they are, and I'm gauging it that way. I am so done, and I'm done with it. I just have to take a break from investing so much in it. And then part of it, too, is because, the end of our season, I'm so exhausted. It's like I don't have a whole lot left there for it, but I'm not a big Mike Elias guy. I don't really like some of the moves that were made. I'm not enamored by this lineup yet. I think it's too many meatheads in the lineup. And I'm still not convinced about the starting rotation. I think they're relying on some people that have had injuries in the past, just the rotation in the bullpen too. So if they're 500 going into August, of course, I'll be fired up as hell because they can make a big push, make the playoffs, and then anything can happen, right?
You'll be feeling good, man.
To answer the question is just don't do what happened last year. Don't force me to watch minor league call-ups in late August and in September.
Yeah, that's when you're in a bad spot.
I've got no appetite for that. I've got no appetite for that.
You're in a bad spot for sure when that happens. All right.
Yes, the Orioles did lose tonight. I have them on here. That's why I lean over every once in a while.
I hope I didn't spoil that for you. I'm sure you.
Well, they already suck with runners in scoring position this year, so that's carried over from last year.
We're gonna wrap it up with this one. I've seen this question coming a few times since the beginning, so I'll throw it up there. Latest on Maximo.
By the way, Chris Bassett pitched tonight. Dr. Chu says you do have Chris Bassett. He did pitch tonight. Gave up some early knocks.
It happens, man. Pitching's tough.
Sorry, man.
Tough sport.
Sorry to interrupt.
You're good. We're wrapping up with this, Edge. I've seen this question asked a few times. Latest on Maximo and Dylan. Again, I know David's probably more of a question, more aligned with David. He's our recruiting expert. But I mean, it's just come back. I mean, you got to.
They're both wait and see. Yeah, Maximo was playing this weekend, and he wasn't taking questions other than apparently put out, hey, we're just waiting to see what's going to happen. Everybody's in wait and see mode, and they don't have to rush. There's going to be a lot of roster spots open here in the next month. So there's no rush for anybody. They want to wait and see who they get.
Yeah, I think that's.
And remember, Maximo did sign. He would have to be released of a signed letter of intent. Mingo has not signed. He's only committed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good point. Good clarification on that. Yeah. No doubt about it. And two, I think when with this promise, this is something we've seen a few times. Carolina kind of some people saying like, when is this thing going to get done? When is this, what I've even seen some people like, what's taking so long? I mean, it really hadn't been that long, especially when you consider there's, some of their top linked coaches are still playing in the NCAA tournament. But I feel like Carolina's in a position where you should be happy that it's taken a long, that it's not something that just happened 2 days later, because I think it's one of those situations where Carolina's looking at some really, really good coaches, but B, they want to get the decision right, AJ, and they will. It's not about getting it done quickly, so getting it done so before the portal, whatever. I get all that stuff, but I think more importantly, if you can do that before, great. But more importantly, it's getting the right hire, getting your guy and the guy who you think can take this program forward. So I really don't care how long it takes personally, because if you go out and get the right guy for the job, none of that stuff really matters because you got the right guy. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to address that too, because that's popped up a few times.
Yeah, that's all that matters. Get the right guy and everything will take care of itself. The portal is open for 15 days starting next Tuesday, a week from tomorrow. But you don't only have 15 days to get your roster together. You have time after that to get your roster together. So guys will have time to they'll have somebody in, meet with the players, and they can make a decision. I know that a lot of kids might want to be in there their first day because you want to give yourself more options. The more roster spots are taken, the fewer options there are. That's obviously something that they know about and they're aware of, but you have to get the right head coach in there first. You have to do that first. And then they're going to build a roster. There'll be enough.
100%. No doubt about it. All right. Vandy coaching consideration. I had to throw this one in there too, because I keep seeing this question pop up as well.
Yeah, I mean, the name's there, and I know that they were impressed with him and had an eye. They've had an eye on people all along, just in case.
He did sign an extension too, which he didn't take.
He'd sign an extension. I don't think it changed the buyout much at all, though. So, but I don't think that matters.
Bit, yeah.
Look, if Carolina wants whoever they want, the buyouts, I don't think ultimately is going to be the issue. So that's one of the reasons why you talk to someone like an MJ. Hey, you make a phone call and you write a check, boom, we got what we want, right? And then you scratch MJ's back in another way, which we can get into maybe at some point down the road when we learn more. But Byington, it's going to be pretty hard to get rid of Hubert and bring in a guy who's only been a head coach in the power conference for 2 years and hadn't been out of the first weekend. Yeah. That means you're rolling some mighty big dice right there. I don't think they're in position to roll the dice now. If they get to that point, because some of their top candidates don't end up taking the job, then someone like him could surface. Same thing with McCollum. Somebody asked about him as well.
Yeah, and I like Byington too, but I genuinely think a lot of people, that name has been a little bit more prominent, not only because he's had a good year at Vanderbilt, but because he has that UNCW connections. I genuinely think that's played a factor with some people. Like, well, he's
well, kind of also look what he did with Tyler Nickel. Look what he did with Jalen Washington, that kind of stuff man. Too. But for a while it was impressive.
They look really good, yeah.
But you got to talk about the seed again. He's actually older than Dusty May. People don't realize
he's 49, I think. He's 49.
He'll be, yeah. So when I originally did the candidates thing, the age I have in there is what their age will be when the season starts next year. And he's going to be, 50? And Dusty May, I think, will be 49. I think that's what it is. I have to go back and look at my numbers now. But he's he's like 6 months older. And people think he's really young because he was just at Madison a couple of years ago. So he was at Georgia Southern for a while. But, yeah, he's a great UNCW player from back in the day. And there's some interesting things there. But right now, I don't think it's there, at least right now.
No, I don't think so either, based on the names we've been hearing. All right, man. We'll go ahead and wrap this thing up. About an hour and a half, which is kind of what we were planning on doing. You never know when we get in here, man. It's a great time, though. I could stay in here all night just taking these questions, talking to you guys. Big thank you to everybody that's hopped in the live chat, man. It's been fun.
Want to take one more? You want to take one or two? Someone says, what about Ryan? I'll do this, too. I'm getting so technically advanced here in my old age. What about Ryan Odom? Ryan Odom's a really good coach, but he's not going to leave UVA after 1 year, especially for a conference school. And he's got a connection to UVA. His dad was the assistant there under Terry Holland. There's some weird stuff being said there. Anyway, AJ, the traffic in Wilmington is worse.
Wilmington traffic, I will maintain it. It sucks at rush hour. I will say that it does.
Yeah, everything in Wilmington. When I was there, it was like everything's at least 15 minutes away. Now it's like 25.
Yeah. That traffic in whatever the main road is. What is the main highway that takes you into? Is it 40? It takes you
40. Yeah. Yeah,
40 in
yeah,
Wilmington.
40.
Brutal, man. That's my only I really have
It's college. College Road. College Road is crazy. Oleander's crazy. I'm going to be in Wilmington hopefully in about 3 weeks or so. I'm going to go see my dad.
Oh,
My
nice.
dad lives over in yeah, what the hell is it? It is not too far from Greenville Loop.
Greenville Loop.
So yeah, Wilmington was my vibe there for a while. I like Wilmington. It's a great place. I just wish that the old timers there wouldn't have fought so much the construction of roads because they've created so much crappy traffic.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a fantastic. Yeah, I got a lot of love for Wilmington. It's been a few years since I've been down there, but the traffic is tough.
I almost went down there in my career in 2013. I was going to start a radio network based out of there.
Yeah, I remember that.
John Bunning was going to do a show.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
We had just a lot of people involved. There were some pretty cool people involved. A Grammy Award-winning music artist who had #1 hits in the 80s was going to be involved from a distance.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good stuff. It didn't work out. And now, retroactively, I'm glad it didn't work out.
I'm going to throw this last one in here because this is interesting, and I think this kind of lines up with some stuff you've been saying and reporting a little bit. But John Rothstein just dropped a video with some good insight. Basically, Carolina's prepared to pay whatever necessary to get the coach they want.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying all along. I've been telling you guys that all along.
Yep. That's
what I'm telling you all along.
Yeah.
I'm telling you all along, and they're serious. You don't move on from Hubert Davis, someone everybody in that building cares about, respects and admires. And he won enough from a distance, like I said, from 30,000 feet. Hey, it's not bad. Pretty good. And for a lot of programs, it's phenomenal. You don't move on if you're not going to do everything you possibly can to hit a grand slam completely out of Yankee Stadium, the distance that would make Aaron Judge envious. You've got to crush it, and they're prepared to crush it. I've been consistent with that since day one. I've been consistent with that since before they formally announced he was retiring. When we said a few days ahead that he was done. So
I was going to say that. I mean, it comes back to that New Carolina stuff. I mean, it's
New Carolina.
You got to pay money, man. Game's changed. It's all about
the backdrop. It's always been Carolina,
about the money, but it's really about the money now. You know what I mean?
The backdrop is Carolina with the juice of a New Carolina. I think it's a great thing. I think it's time. They understand it. And I think in a few years, when everything settles, whatever direction football goes, who knows what's going to happen there. I think that the University of North Carolina is going to be in pretty good shape with athletics.
I think so too. That's a good place to leave it too, right there, AJ.
All right.
Big thank you to everybody who jumped in here. Big thank you to everybody who got questions in again. 75% off. Go to our website. Yeah, some funny comments coming in there.
So what's this Prestige Worldwide? Isn't that from the Step Brothers or whatever?
I think it is, yeah. I was wondering. I was like, I've heard that before, but why do I know that terminology? It might be.
How come I want to watch that movie now? Just
good movie.
Have total mush mind and just laugh.
Good. I don't blame you for wanting to have mush mind. To be honest with you, way these things.
I need mush mind, bro.
We all do. All right, guys. 75% off promo. Links in the description. Go on over and sign up. TarHeal247.com. We'd love to have you a part of our awesome community, the biggest community of Carolina fans on the interwebs. So come join it, man. It's been growing like crazy, too, the last couple of weeks. It's been awesome to see, man. Awesome to see. Obviously, everybody fired up about this coaching stuff. But 365 days a year is a great time to be a part of our community. So, again, come on over and sign up. All right, guys, we appreciate it. AJ,
hold on. Make AJ put one last question on the screen. All right?
Let's put their question.
He's got to ask.
That's not really a question, though, is it?
See? There you go.
There we go. Shout out Butch Green. I think I put Butch's question on the screen. That might be his second appearance tonight. Yeah. That might be his second appearance.
You know, when I had my radio show in Wilmington, there were a couple dudes that would call like 2 and 3 times. And there was just one guy. Yeah. There was this one guy. I'm not gonna say his name, but he would call the first hour and he's pretty lucid. You know, he's kind of agreeable. He'd call again toward the end of the first hour, and I think he was like talking through like a handkerchief or something like that, trying to disguise his voice a little bit.
That's great.
And then he'd call back in the second hour with about 15 minutes left in the show, slurring his words, and he was argumentative, and we couldn't track the numbers in the studio at the time. Mm-hmm. So we had a few people that would call multiple times, and I mean, we had one show, I think we had 3 different people call like 2 times. I'm thinking, man, what are we doing here? We got to have more. We have some
Gotta
different
get
colors.
somebody else.
What are our ratings?
Please, somebody else call, for the love of God. Somebody else, please call our radio station right now. All right, guys. Appreciate it, y'all. We'll see y'all in the next one, and keep it locked to Heel Report, presented by Tars247.com. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.